Hello, chess friends. This is International Master Valeri Lilov, and welcome to today's lecture on one of my most favorite openings, the Sicilian Najdorf. See, the Sicilian Najdorf is known as an opening that is fairly complicated and a bit old. Many people prefer the simpler Scheveningen or other lines. In fact, they've just heard that it's difficult to play it. So what I want to do now is I'd like to show you a number of games that I consider personally great in how to play the Najdorf effectively. So we're going to start with a game that was played by no other but the great Mihail Tal, who defeated Bobby Fischer. Yeah, that game was played in the Bled Zagreb Belgrade candidates. In fact, in 1959. Fish was a bit younger back then, but he was still playing in the candidate matches, and Tal managed to destroy him. So we're going to see how he did that, and that game also covered the basics of the most important openings that I believe you should learn if you want to fight for a win as black. So let's have a look and learn together. Okay, so hold on for a second. There is the game. I started with e4, knight f3, d4, exchange, and knight c3. So you could see it's basically developing normally. And now we have after a6 the typical structure of Najdorf. This is what Najdorf is, basically. It is an opening that is all encompassing one thing. It's all about let's get the center control and just basically the possibility to follow up with e5, bishop e7, bishop e6, knight b7. I mean, I'm just showing you this not necessarily because has to be played, but this is one of the most popular versions if you want an easy to follow setup playing this opening. All right, so what white did was bishop c4. Now, generally speaking, if white plays two of the moves, bishop g5 for bishop c4, you don't want to be playing e5, even though e5 is one of the easiest ways to take control over the center. Reason? Is because if white ends up playing bishop c4, he's going to take over the square of d5. So we can't really go with a move of e5 no more. That's a very important thing. So when we go for the move of, when he goes for the move of bishop c4, if we do e5, that means we surrender this square. And then if we surrender this square, we don't want it. It's going to give white a tremendous version of attack, possibilities, and ways to go. Why do we have to do it to handle that? It's completely unnecessary and irrelevant. So basically speaking, after the move of bishop c4, black played e6. You're just setting up the pieces in the way they want to be. It was good. And then after that, what happened is bishop b3, bishop e7. Now this is called the small center. Oftentimes in the Najdorf variation, when e5 is not allowed, like when white plays bishop g5 for bishop c4, it would rather prefer to make this center, having those pawns like a little hedgehog. In fact, sometimes we've also called these hedgehog structures because it just helps. It gives us the opportunity in the way of like keeping the opponent a bit more back. So white played with f4, castles, queen f3, queen c7, castles, and b5. Now we also realize that queen c7 is a very important move, because besides just natural development, we also need to protect the e5 so white doesn't just push us back or take control of some of the best squares that we've got. So it is a very needed move. Another important thing that helps too is that after we go ahead with the move of b5, we're preparing to purposefully challenge and counterattack against the white center. How exactly are we going to do it? Well, we're going to do it with bishop b7. And after we get to pin down the e4, b4 is definitely going to happen. So it's a fairly easy move to do. Remember one thing. If you get this development in this manner, in this sequence, everything's going to work. You just need to go with it. And what I mean by go with it is that you just need to put your pieces right and have them closer. Now with the bishop to b7, we're definitely very close to attacking his center. So white played f5. And interestingly enough, Tal did b4. Remember, Sicilian defense is all but a defensive opening. If you start defending, you're in the wrong corner. What you need to do is do anything at all to push away your opponent, to challenge him down. A move like e5 or others. With a move like b4, we're going to have moves like bishop to the b7. And we're going to be having moves like e5. We're going to get lots of opportunities to create threats. So white does knight a4, e5, knight e2, bishop b7, knight g3, and then knight bd7. There's a lovely opportunity against the e4, and there is a great set of pieces developed and looking down. Remember that. Now, you have to make sure that each piece you develop goes there on purpose. And so it's not only that we get the extra tension versus our opponent, but we also have possibilities like queen to c6, a5, bishop a6. It's a really solid way of turning and managing our pieces, right? It's perfect. Really good and really efficient that way. Don't go anywhere else. Opening is about one thing, development. And development can help you to move across, get your forces ready, and prepare them for an attack. That's right. Prepare your pieces for an attack. Now, what does white? What did he do? Actually, in this position, white was not feeling very happy. So Fischer decided, let's develop two. So all he wanted was to make sure that his own forces can come out and just feel like they have the potential. He wanted that, and he's gonna get this most likely. Okay, bishop c6. Now we're heading along queen to b7. Could pressurize the e4. We're keeping the opponent under pressure at the square of a4. And we also have the ability to keep the opponent, to keep white's pieces down. Bishop f2, queen b7, rook fe1. Now, something else that you may find very interesting is that while the opponent's under pressure at e4, he can't do anything. You see, the focus of black is often really great when it moves from the queen side or through the queen side towards the center. Because if you could do it, not only that you will have him driven back or away, but you're actually going to be thinking about pressure, challenges, and different ways to keep him backward. So when black basically played it, he also did go for the move of d5. That was a really wonderful move. Why did black do it? This is a typical move that's often not a possibility, but in this case we could actually do it because we have the resource of these pieces really coming together and being great. It's a brilliant move, a lovely tactic, and an idea to help us grow the position. Just after the move of d5, white plays e takes to the d5, knight takes to the d5, knight e4, and then knight f4 came out great. If you think of it, which I think we should, in a position like that, if you think of it, you're going to see where this really comes from. It's never about, oh, okay, I've got those good pieces. Does black have good pieces? Yes, he does. But what it's really about is maintaining the pressure. For a longer amount of time, black is able to use his pieces to challenge and push ahead against the opponent. And that by itself is a wonderful setup. When knight f4 came through, white played c4, and then black did g6. If takes G, and then F5, forcing him down. It was a great looking move because we're also getting the chance to attack against the opponent on the in the E4. And you see, this is very important. I know, like, what you gotta keep in mind is just first and foremost is you have to keep the attack, and then you have the threats out there against the opponent, and we have that line to follow up. And then the truth is that if white moves away, then just we're gonna take down on the F3. It's perfect. So that was the moment where basically Fischer's position just collapsed. But the reality is that after knight takes d5, there was not a whole lot he could do. We got the knight f4, we got the bishop out there, and then we have the ability to make extra tension. That is a perfect thing. So first and foremost, you need to make the opponent's pieces actually, behind or backward. How do you do that? By making yourself a little bit more advanced, more active. So most important thing in such a position is that you just, you move ahead. You can think about a move like knight f4. You can think about the bishop and the queen and the extra pressure. So when white did knight e4, basically black played knight f4. So that was an excellent move. Strong pressure, and the tension comes against the e4. And then after the move of knight f4, we're doing great. c4, g6. Why did we do that? Because that pawn was the only advanced piece inside our territory. When you see a piece of your opponent that stands inside your territory, I tell you, get rid of it. I don't say try to get rid of it. I don't say think about getting rid of it. I say get rid of it, literally. Because when you get rid of the advanced pawn, whatever it is, it's going to help you. It's going to give your forces and your pieces the ability to shoot out and then move forward effectively. That's what it is to make yourself more powerful. See, with g6 and the restriction, we see the power that this opening gives us. And the reality is that Fischer was just not too careful in that game. He just missed it. He missed up the pressure, missed the possibilities. Queen is going down now. And then we could see the reality is that after he plays knight c5, there's an exchange, takes, and then, queen c7. Now, look at this. What matters much more in this position is the long-term pressure. You see, the long-term pressure is so much more powerful than anything else. Because, when you realize it, you get to also see the activity. We're going to be having the rook to the g8. We're going to be having the chance to think about, just an attack on the g2. It is beautiful, strong, and efficient all at one. That's the way we see it. That's the way we do it. Queen c7, queen e3, rook e8, rook e2. And you know what? Just you found out that this was a really, a devastating position already. There's the attack against the g2 that if we actually go ahead with the move of knight g2, we're just going to be pretty destructive against him. And there is there's an attack against the queen, and then there is the attack against the rook. There is every piece of the opponent that just is going to be horrible. It's pretty bad. And that was it. This is basically how it ends. Most interestingly, after rook a e8, rook e2, the exchange, black just captured down the g2, which was a disaster, literally. It was like if white would take back with the king, we're going to be able to maybe even play with rook to g8 or queen to the c8. It doesn't matter which one we do first. But what matters, nevertheless, is the fact he is down. Every single piece of white is completely far away from the king, unable to stop the invading pieces of black, unable to even opposed him. That was huge and powerful. See, I think it was great. And you just have to think of it this way. What do you need? What do you really need to do? Get your pieces across and advance attack him. Knight takes d6, queen e7 check, a rook to the g8, queen g7, and then we of course have the rook to come out against the opponent on that position, and rook to the e6, rook to the h6. It's a great thing. So, talking about the position from a very early stage, remember a few things you can do as a summary in this opening. First, set the structure correctly. You do that, you're halfway there. Almost everything is fixed by doing this first. Second, make sure you pay attention about the d5 square. That determines if you're going to play e5 or e6. In this case, when your opponent has a better control, you might want to have the e6 so that he doesn't move. Next thing, make sure that you go with a plan of queenside play. Not because you want to attack on the queenside, now that may be good. But as good as it may be, the idea is that through the queenside, we're going to love and enjoy attacking the center. That's where we really want to push. That's where we would like to be targeting. And more importantly, as this was played, e5, bishop b7, knight d7, bishop c6, as the extra tension really happened, you've got to be going this way. You know, the truth is that after a move of d5, e takes to the d, and then knight takes to the d5, we have the move of knight f4, we have the move of g6, and then, just the idea is that literally every single piece of black simply opened up to the threats that were created against black's position, and that's what you need. Open up, get your pieces going, and advance them. Is it going to take time to do? Absolutely. But it doesn't matter, because advancing your pieces and getting them ahead to the attack is literally that one thing which matters most. And so as black was able to do it very well, he was incredibly successful. Queen c7, rook e8, the attack on the g2, the defense on the e8, on the e5, the rook to the g8, which was a perfect possibility, step by step. Don't forget that idea. You need to be active. The more active you happen to be, the more powerful and dangerous your position is going to be. It's going to follow. It was interesting because this was a brilliant game that was played by Fischer himself, by Tal himself. And Fischer, a couple years later, Fischer himself did a brilliant game when he defeated Wolfgang Unzicker. I'd love to show you this game because I think personally it is one of my favorites, because it shows exactly another brilliant example of another line in the Najdorf that you might want to actually play and pick it up by yourself. So Fischer was playing with black, of course. And in this game, after e4, c5, knight f3, d6, and the standard a6 that takes out the b5 square. By the way, if you're not aware of why this move is played, it's just so that white doesn't give a check on b5 or cause trouble on that square. By the way, if you want to learn more about this line or structure, as well as some others, I really recommend you to check the link below this video. It has, a great discount to a course that is simply brilliant, and there's so much to learn with it. Just take a look at it. It's only available for a few hours at an amazing price, and you're going to learn a lot about these and other similar formations. So, after a6, bishop e2, and now e5. There we go. See, the idea is that bishop e2 is more passive. It's a little bit, probably a little bit easier, but it's more passive. And then as soon as black jumps in, this is a comment by Fischer, by the way, if you're going to see the text commentaries or notes by Fischer. And he's just pushing away the knight, and ultimately the d6 pawn never or almost never turns out something that white can actually use. It's a big deal move. But it's exactly what we expect. It's exactly what we want to do. Okay, now, After that's played, white, of course, does knight to the b3, and then black plays bishop e6. Short castles. Now, this is passive. You see, the version that it oftentimes works for white essentially goes with bishop e3, queen d2, alongside castles. Castles short does quite the opposite. It does go on a different road. It sets up the king on a square that just doesn't feel so good. I wouldn't say that it is bad, but I would just say it's different. So now, black develops. He doesn't stray out or away from the formation. It's all about just setting up the right formation. It's about getting the knight right out. It's about getting the queen right out. And it's just about getting the pieces out and the way they need to be. That's all we need to do. So white played f4. And this one. f5. Bishop c4. It's brilliant. Just this is it. Don't worry about tactics. He's not going to be able to do anything. Right now, we have the proper way to confront the tactical play by just being ahead. And in that sense, right after bishop c4, a4, and bishop e7, you get to realize that the structure is kept quite intact for black. For the most part, he has a good development, but underneath it, the deeper meaning behind this line is that by keeping himself more advanced and active this way, we have white a little off. I mean, it's true. White's position and pieces just don't feel like they should be, doing good. And that's wonderful because, honestly, he doesn't have the right way to go here. He played the move of bishop e3, which black responded with castles, a5. And what would you guys do here? Think about it. It's a wonderful position, good space. Black has potential. There's that. But there is more that needs to be done at this point. So what is that? Well, there's one thing. The one thing that black needed to do was b5. This move both opens the possibility for black's pieces to open up and move along the queen side, as well as, he's preparing to line up whatever is necessary forward onto the same area. Takes a little time. I agree with that. But it doesn't matter because in the end of the day, this is what we want. Get this space, line up the pieces, and open up as many files as we could. The B file can be opened. The C file can be opened now. Even the knight can move ahead down to C4. It's a pretty brilliant way. Bishop takes b6. And that was a mistake, actually. I guess White was worried or a little bit concerned what would happen if those bishops exchange and the knight arrives at c4. It's true. If the knight arrives at the c4 square, then there is going to be the chance to attack against b2 to threaten versus the e3. But then what White played with bishop takes to the b6, it was quite different, as a matter of fact. So it just gives up the bishop pair. Then, of course, black plays queen next to the b6, king h1, bishop b5. That was a great move, which suggests how much black really did care about maintaining the correct structure. It wasn't about tactics. It wasn't about tricks or threats. It was just about, I want to keep myself in line. I want to keep my pieces better. And to do so, I'm ready to even give up on easy and wonderful moves like bishop takes c2, rook c8. That would otherwise look terrific. So we're not going for those for the reason of keeping each piece better and more useful. And that's the way it is supposed to be. Now, if white does the exchange, we realize it's going to be the take back and then rook c8 or rook b8, and it's easy. So white did the move of bishop takes b5, 8x to the b, and then knight b5, hoping to jump out and attack. It was interesting. Fortunately, that didn't work. It's take, and rook a4. Avoids, conceding the a file and puts pressure on the king's pawn. It's wonderful to see how efficient each of the black pieces are as opposed to white's. See, white's pieces are not bad by any means, but they're not great. They don't do anything. They're not useful. If you look at the black pieces, now they're very different. The rook attacks the e4. Even the bishop can move out. The queen is awesome. So you understand where the black forces really come at and what they do. c3 and queen a6. h3 and rook to the c8. Rook e1, and then there's h6. King h2, bishop to the g5. g3, and then actually there's a queen to the a7. King g2, rook to a2. King f1, there's a rook takes to the c3. Just the activity at one point breaks down and really attacks the opponent. It's a wonderful thing. Like when we have rook takes to the c, if he plays b takes to the c, we could do queen f2 check. And it's a checkmate. So if we place with the move of rook takes to the a2, there's a rook f3 check, and then we have rook f2 plus rook takes. It's just great. White resigned now because he actually realized, okay, this one's gonna be to the checkmate, and if the rook takes a2, of course, just check from here. Rook f3, king e2, rook f2, king d1, queen takes a2, and then we have the king b1, queen b1, queen takes to b2, and then there's the attack on the b3. One of the key things that I love about such a position is just realizing the power of each piece and understanding how they tend to work together. When you get your pieces to work together, everything else almost is going to be easier and will work out the way you want it to be. That's a great way to play. So these were some of the best examples, in my opinion, in respect to how you should think about, the Najdorf. Remember the plan, moving on with the idea of b5. There's like the line of rook to b8, rook c8. It's just the extra pressure that the opponent is, has to deal with. It's all you gotta realize. That is everything you have to know. So anyway, it was a great example. I hope that you find that useful. And again, if you like to take a look and learn a little bit more about the structures, check the link below the video. It's only available for a great discount for a few hours today. And also, if you're interested, you can check my website, tigerlilov.com, to check more of my free videos, or even sign up a free talk session with me, so we can talk about your chess, the problems, the things that you can do to improve it, and I'll be very happy to help you out. Thank you so much, and have a good weekend.